on this session as well, which is absolutely fine. Today, we're going to be talking about all these amazing strategies that you can follow from an investment point of view. Right. So, of course, we are doing it on the occasion of Women's Day. So, all the women on this, on the session, I wish all of you a very, very happy Women's Day. But please remember that it is equally important for all of us to understand these concepts, right? So sit here with an open mind. I'm not here to sell, promote anything. We're just going to have a very casual discussion about money, about investing. And I hope all of you have a great time in this whole process. So before we start, I want to start off by showing you guys one video, okay? And I do believe that video to a large extent covers what we are trying to, show you today. So I'm just going to quickly play that video. Just give me a moment. Yeah.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for coming to help us conduct this experiment today. We were of different ages. We were made to stand in a line. Now I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions. If your answer is a yes, step forward. If it's a no, please step back. Here goes. Ready? Did you learn how to ride a bicycle before the age of 10? Did you learn music in school? Did you take any lessons in sport? And no, video games are not a sport, even if it has the word game in it. Did you learn how to iron your clothes while still in school? Take a step forward. If not, take a step back. If you can make tea or breakfast, not just for yourselves, please step forward. If not, take a step back.
At the beginning, I think the questions were more general. People were still going forward and backward. Questions like, it was funny to see the cooking question. There were a lot of men who went ahead and there were women who were going behind.
Do you usually make all the household bill payments yourself? Do you know the circle rate in your area? Do you know the price of gold today? Do you know the exact breakup of your salary?
As the questions unfolded, the stark difference came out visibly.
Do you know the details of the financial documents you're asked to sign? Have you bought a vehicle in your own name without consulting anybody? Have you bought insurance policies unassisted? Do you watch or follow the budget?
You think you're doing okay, but then you're like, okay, these are kind of important things that I don't look at.
Do you manage your own finances and earnings unassisted? Do you know how to invest in mutual funds? Do you know the difference between a mutual fund and an SIP? Do you make the investments for your family members or your spouse? Do you file your own income tax return? Now, everyone who's in front, could you please turn around and look behind you? Initially, when you guys started moving, there wasn't such a big gap. My question is, when did this gap start to occur?
The minute the questions became about managing money, the gap between men and women became very clear in everything.
Women handling certain responsibilities regarding their own life, which were always passed on to someone else in the family or the men.
There was a slight unfairness I realized at that time. But at that point, it seemed normal. I was upset. I wanted to be at the front of the line. It's like, why don't I know this? Why am I not confident enough to say, yes, I am able to understand this?
It was quite an eye-opener for me because I always depended on the men of the family to take care of my investments and, plan my future.
I felt that obviously men are more into it than women. So eventually, I did expect the gap to be there.
Over the years growing up, there were certain very traditionally masculine tropes that were assigned for him and certain traditionally feminine tropes that were assigned for me.
For women, it's practically debarred to learn to know and to focus on money.
I wish I had known from the beginning of my childhood and kind of thought about that I would be doing so much better.
Just actionable measures is what we want, really.
Yeah. So, looking at this video, I'm sure all of you, to a large extent, understand what we're going to be talking about today. So just a quick request, if you possible, if you guys can switch on your cameras, that will be great. It'll be nice to see the people that I'm talking to. If you think it's not possible, it's fine. But if it's okay, I would request all of you to switch on your cameras. Okay. So, today we're going to be talking about investments for sure. We're going to be talking about financial planning. We're going to be discussing about the products all of us can invest in and so on. But I think there's another very important topic that we want to touch upon, and the fact that, as women, a lot of times we are not. We don't really take up charge of our money for a very simple reason, because I think we are all multitaskers, and we have so much which is happening in our lives all the time that we think that this is something that can probably be outsourced to the male members of our family, right? Be it our husbands, our fathers, our brothers, and so on. And we generally don't even take as much interest. But I'm going to show you certain statistics, certain numbers, certain facts which are going to help you understand why it is important for all of us to understand about money management, to understand why it is important for us to know these basic things, right? I truly believe investing is a very important life skill that all of us need to have, right? And it is not specific to any gender. Because see, what are your life skills? We have certain life skills that all of us learn, things like maybe swimming and cooking and driving, and certain basic aspects which will help us lead a better life, correct? Investing is similarly a very important life skill that is going to help us better our lives, right? And if it is something so important, then why is it that we don't focus on it? Today there's a focus on investing at very young age, even at school level. People are making their children learn about investments, learn about money management. But I know for a fact that in my generation as well, I see so many people who don't even, so many girls, so many women who don't even want to worry about money management, don't even want to think about it, because they're like, God, it's too much hassle, too confusing. I think we'll just ask my husband to take care of it. So I'm going to quickly again share my screen with all of you, and I'm going to teach you these basic things that all of us need to understand. Okay. Now, of course, I'm going to be asking all of you a lot of questions. So if you have doubts, if you have questions, you also can ask me questions, and it'll be great if we can keep the interaction going. And if we can, if you can just help me with all the answers. Yeah. Okay. So let me start off with certain basic things, right? So there's this very basic thing that says that if you educate a woman, you're educating a whole generation. And the same applies to investments as well. So, I come from a family where my mother pretty much handled all the finances in our family. So from investments to anything that we wanted to buy, any investment, any money related stuff was what my mom did, because my mom was really interested in it, right? And I think that just got rubbed on to all of us. So I started investing at the age of 18. So I was just starting my engineering at that time, and that's when I started my investments. Today, 20 years later, I'm still investing, and I'm still managing my finances, managing my money, because I've obviously learned a lot of things over the years. But the whole process started much earlier in my life, all thanks to the women in my life, to the most important woman in my life, my mother, right? So it's very important that we understand these concepts, because that is how our children are going to become more independent eventually. So let's look at some numbers in terms of where do women stand on investing, right? So globally, if we see, it's just about 1/3 of the women who are investing money. So the numbers in terms of women who are earning is much higher. Today, we have close to 70% of women globally who are actually working, but only 1/3 of them are investing. Close to 77% of the women are not even confident about making their investment decisions. Two-thirds of the respondents said that, if they had the guidance or clear steps to do so, they probably would have invested more, but they didn't have the right kind of guidance. Yes. And 22% of the women said that they're not even aware of their investments, which means they are earning. Someone is handling their investments for them, but they have no idea where the investments are going. Right. So, what we also need to understand is, if we just look at the risk taking ability. So, out of those people, the women who are actually investing money, the risk taking ability of women is much lower compared to the men, right? And that is where you will see women investing in more conservative products, products like public provident funds, FDs, gold, which are considered to be more conservative in nature compared to the male counterparts, who are probably investing in more aggressive products, maybe equities and shares and mutual funds and so on. Now, the question is, why are we doing this? Why do we say that women should take financial decisions, right? What's the reason for it? So one is, of course, financial independence, right? Now, each partner in a relationship needs to be financially independent, and just earning money is not going to make us financially independent. It's truly about saving money that is going to help us get there, right? We have examples of enough and more people who made tons of money in their life but who've eventually gone bankrupt, and that's probably because they did not invest money, right? So it's not about how much money we are earning, but it's about how much money we are saving that is going to help us in becoming financially independent, right? And obviously, to become financially independent, you need to take those decisions yourself, right? Now, the reason for this is there's a survey which is by Wells Fargo, Women and Investing report of last year, which said that 9 out of 10 women eventually end up taking charge of the family's wealth, right? And this is because women generally tend to live longer than the men, right? So if women are living longer than the men, which means the wealth eventually is going to come to their hands, and then they need to take charge of that particular wealth. They need to know what to do with it, right? I know so many people who had no idea about investments. Their husbands left them a lot of money, and then they didn't even know what to do with it. They probably made investments which eventually ended up giving them really bad returns, right? So understanding the basics of finance, I'm not saying you need to be you need to know in depth, you need to know everything, no, but at least understanding the basics is a very, very important thing, because it's eventually the women who are going to take charge of the wealth of the family, right? And it's also possible that your goals are not aligned with your husband's goals, right? Your husband may have certain financial goals, you may have certain other financial goals, and if the goals are not aligned, then taking charge of your money is extremely important. And if you have a husband who is running a business, right? So if you come from a business family, then the risk profile is going to be completely different, right? And that is when you need to be extra prepared, because you have a spouse who's actually taking so much more risk in terms of money. Yeah. Then, if you look at the life priorities, a beautiful survey. If you just see this image on the left hand side, this is at different age groups. What are women's priorities, right? 18 to 25, family is the topmost priority, then travel, higher studies, retire early. 25 to 35, family is the most important, then travel, then retire early, then children. 35 to 45, again, family is most important. So if you see at any age level, family always takes the first priority, and then the other goals would keep changing depending on your age, right? So then the question is, if family is the most important thing, there's a survey that says that married women end up taking care of both sides of the families, not just your own family. You'll also be taking care of your spouse's family financially, right? So if we as women are going to take care of both sides of the family, we're going to take charge of the wealth, we're going to be using our or coming across these opportunities so often, then don't you think knowing about investments, knowing about how to manage that is extremely important, right? I was telling you about life expectancy, and like it shows you in the screen, in the presentation, life expectancy of women is much longer than men. So women tend to live longer than the men, right? So if you're going to live longer than the men, then obviously it is important that we know about it. Yeah. So, what could be the impact of not showing interest in finance and investing? So, if you are someone who is not really investing money, who doesn't care about investing money, what could be the impact of this? So, let's look at that. So, obviously, you're not taking financial decisions, so you don't have knowledge about it. You are missing out on some potential opportunities of wealth creation, right? To create wealth, there's so much that you can do, and you're missing out on those opportunities. You're not giving the right opportunities to your money to make it grow to the right level, right? So this is why it is very important that we understand that knowing about investment is not just a men's responsibility. It is equally our responsibility. And now, there's a survey which says that as of 2020, 150,000 crores has been lying unclaimed with various banks and insurance companies. EPFO, which is the Employee Provident Fund Office, has close to 60,000 crores of unclaimed funds, which basically means that why is it unclaimed? Which means people who are investing are probably not there anymore, and people who were supposed to claim did not know about it. So if you have your husbands who are taking charge of your wealth, god forbid if something happens to them, and if you have no idea where that money has been invested, then this is what's going to happen. Banks, insurance companies, EPFOs, government is going to be keeping that money with themselves, because you will not know where to go and claim for it, right? So it is, these are things which obviously make us wonder, why are we not thinking about it till now? Now, what are some of the bright spots? So, the bright spots, some good developments which have happened in the last few years. More than 50% of the women are interested in investing. So, they've seen the pandemic, they've seen what has happened, and they want to now take charge of the family's wealth and their own wealth. A little above 60% respondents have said that they have invested in stocks, mutual funds post pandemic. So I think pandemic was a life changing event for a lot of us, made us realize a lot of things, made us understand a lot of things. Investing is probably one of them. Yeah. Now, why is it we as women have a potential to stand out? There are some very interesting reasons for it. One, we are better at saving, right? We've seen that with our mothers, with our grandmothers, with everyone. They're just so good with setting aside a small amount every month, from the money that they get to run the house. Risk averse and disciplined, it basically means that we are little risk averse, but we are also very, very disciplined about our investments. We are good at multitasking, yes, and I'm sure you agree with me, and better mental strength, which basically means that behaviorally we will be much better at handling the portfolio. So if you just look at this, which basically says that if you look at a female led portfolio versus a male led portfolio, a female led portfolio does much better in terms of risk adjusted returns. So basically, a portfolio where the risk is also balanced out and you get decent returns, a female led portfolio tends to do better than the male led portfolio. Right. So now let's understand that if I want to invest money as a woman, if I want to understand these basic concepts, when and how should I start the process? And that is where we're going to discuss about the different products which are available, different things you should keep in mind, and how we can go about doing it. So now I'm going to quickly switch my presentation and we're going to start talking about which are the different products that we can invest in, right? Now, first, before we look at in general, about investments, I want to ask all of you a very simple question. So it's going to come on your screen as a poll question. And the question is, if I want to invest money, so I'm hoping that all of us are convinced about the fact that I want to invest money. Why should I look at investments? How are my investments eventually going to help me? Right. So is it for my future that I'm saving money? Is it to achieve financial goals? Is it to buy a house, or is it for my children's higher education? I would request all of you to answer this question. I want you guys to tell me, since I'm looking at investing money, why should I invest? So I have 40 of you on the call, so it'll be great if all of you can answer this. Question is very simple. Why should we invest? Everyone, please answer this question. Another 10 seconds. Okay, so let me quickly end the poll now. I have half of you saying for our future, the other half saying for our financial goals. Okay. See, ideally, when we are looking at investing money, right, most of us tend to believe that we are going to invest money for the future, which is fair, which is absolutely fine. We are obviously saving money for the future. But the problem is that when we are saving money for the future, we are not having a very disciplined approach to our investments. See, when it comes to money management, when it comes to investment, there are two most important things, and money is not one of them. The two most important things are time and discipline. These are the two things you have to give your investments. So now the point is, discipline, if you're talking about, that comes only when we have specific goals in mind. Okay, so why do we say that? So for example, whenever you're investing money for a particular reason, so say that you need to buy a house for yourself after 5 years, and you're saving money for the down payment, then that is something very important that you're saving for, so you will continue with your investments, you will not compromise on it. But if you don't have that goal attached to your money, then you will probably compromise if there's an expense on the higher side, right? So always remember, have specific goals, have your financial goals in place, which is any goal in your life for which you need money, and you exactly know when it is going to come. Because when you have financial goals, you will see the magic happen. You will see automatically your investments are so much more disciplined, so much more structured. Okay. Now the first thing. So what's the first step that we look at when it comes to investing? So the first thing that we need to do is, before we do anything else, we need to have an emergency fund in place, right? Now, I want all of you to open your chat box and I want you to tell me or give me some examples of situations where we can use the emergency fund. I'm sure all of you understand by the name what is an emergency fund. So I want you guys to open your chat box and give me the answer. I've just said a hi to all of you on the chat. I want you to tell me what are some of those situations or events when we will end up using the emergency fund. Yes, anyone? Can I get some answers on the screen, on the chat? Okay, so Pushkala is saying medical expenses, car repairs, house repairs, hospitalization, health issues. Oh, absolutely, right? So, health issues, medical emergency is definitely a big one, right? When we have medical emergencies, we use our emergency fund. Your second emergency could be, say, job loss. You know, you're working somewhere, you've lost your job. Then, since you don't have any income coming in, then obviously you need to dig into your emergency fund. It could be salary cuts, right? We are used to a particular lifestyle based on the salary we are earning, and if there's a salary cut, then obviously it's going to have an impact on my lifestyle. Then it could be like someone said, you know, house repairs. So some big expenses come up in the house, and then you've ended up spending maybe a few thousands or a few lakhs on fixing that issue. So all these are examples of emergencies for which we will use our emergency fund. So basically, emergency fund is used for all your unplanned expenses. So all your expenses which you had not planned for, which you had not budgeted for. So the question is now the next question for all of you: how much emergency fund should I have? Can I get an answer on the chat? So, how much emergency fund should I set aside for myself? Anyone? Can I get some answers, guys? 6 to 8 times of your expenses. Okay. Anybody else? Anyone else? Anyone else? How much emergency fund should I set aside? Give me the answer, guys. Anyone? Anyone? Waiting for some more answers. How much emergency fund should I have? Should I set aside? Okay. Understood, Pushkala? Yes. Anyone else? Okay, so ideal number for emergency fund, as Pushkala said, is 6 months of your expenses. Okay, Prasad is saying 20% of your annual income. So ideally, it is 6 months of your expenses, not your savings or not your income, but 6 months of your expenses, ideally. And then you could take it up to 1 year of your expenses if you're at very senior levels in the organization, and a job loss could have a big impact on you because you would have your loans and so many other things. Then 1 year of your expenses is what you could look at. So you start with a bare minimum of 6 months of your expenses, but take it up to maybe 1 year of your expenses with time. Okay. Now, the next thing that all of us need to have is a life insurance policy. So just with a yes or a no, I want you guys to tell me how many of you have a life insurance policy. Just give me a yes or a no on the chat. Okay. So I'm getting many yeses. Many of you are saying yes. Okay. So ideally, why do we take a life insurance policy? Life insurance policy is basically taken if we have financial dependents. So if we have people who are dependent on us financially, then we need to have a life insurance for them. So life insurance is not for you. Life insurance is for your family. So then the point is, how much risk cover should I have in a life insurance policy? So which is basically how much money will my family get if I'm not around, right? So how much money will they get? So give me an answer to that. How much life insurance risk cover should we take? Anyone? Anyone? 10 to 15 times of your annual income. Okay. Okay. Anybody else? How much life insurance risk cover should we have? Anyone? Anyone? So Pushkala says 10 to 15 times of annual income. Any other answer? So the ideal number for life insurance is again 10 times of your annual income. So whatever you're earning annually, multiply that into 10, and that much risk cover we should have in the form of life insurance, right? So the logic is that if you're gone, at least 10 years of your income is what you are setting aside, for your family, which means for the next at least 13 to 14 years, they'll be able to manage. because they'll obviously invest that money somewhere and they'll get returns from that investment, which will help them for extra few years. So basically, if you're earning 10 lakhs a year, your risk cover should be 1 crore. If you're earning 20 lakhs a year, your risk cover should be 2 crore, and so on. Now let's come to financial goals. So we were talking about financial goals, and we said, financial goals are important. I want you guys to tell me that, since we are talking about financial goals, which financial goal from your point of view should be the most important. So I've launched it as a poll question on your screen, and I want you to tell me which financial goal should be given the highest priority. So is it house, education, retirement, or car? House, education, retirement, or car? Ten more seconds. Which financial goal should be given the highest priority? House, education, retirement, or car? Okay, so I'm going to quickly end the poll. And I have an equal take on house and higher education, little less votes to retirement, and very few votes for buying a car. So let me tell you this. Ideally, when we're looking at investing money for our financial goals, ideally, we should be able to give highest priority to one goal, which is retirement. Trust me, more than anything else, give priority to your retirement. And I'll tell you why. See, for every other goal, you have the option of taking a loan. You can take a car loan, home loan, education loan, and so on. But there's no such thing as a retirement loan. That's reason number one. Reason number two, which is another bigger reason, is that when it comes to retirement, right? Say all of us retire by 55, 60, or say 50, 55 today. I don't think all of us want to work till 60. Our life expectancy as such is going up. Can anyone take a guess? So use your chat, take a guess. Tell me, what do you think is a life expectancy for all of us? Or approximately till what age are we going to live? Can anyone tell me? Take a guess. Tell me approximately what is the life expectancy for all of us, or approximately till what age are we going to live? So Pushkila says 80 to 90 years. How about the others? Can I get some more answers? Some more answers, anyone? Okay, Rafika says 60 to 70. Okay, anybody else? 70 years, 75. Okay, anyone else? So most of you are saying 60, 70, 75. Okay. So if you look at the current life expectancy number for our parents' generation, that's close to 70 to 75. Okay, which means on an average, our parents will live approximately till that age. Life expectancy in the last 30 years has gone up by 15 years, which means every decade, life expectancy is going up by 5 years. For our generation, life expectancy is capped at close to 80 to 85. Can you take a guess, why is life expectancy as a number going up? What's the reason? What's the reason? Why is life expectancy going up? Can anyone take a guess? Take a guess. Tell me, why do you think life expectancy is going up? Conscious living, okay. Medical advancement, absolutely, right? Conscious living, I agree. I mean, we are more conscious, we are more aware of how to take care of our health. But I think more than anything else, it's the advancement in the healthcare space, right? So many of you are saying that. Look at it. Today, we have a cure for almost anything. And we are not even talking about healthcare today. We're talking about healthcare after 15, 20 years when we will retire. Think about what would happen in the next 15, 20 years. The biggest challenge we are facing as a generation is that we want to retire early and we are going to live longer. So if that's going to be the case, then how do we really, take care of, or how do we really manage our expenses in our retirement? Which is why, if we're going to have a long retirement, we have to make sure that we've saved up enough money to manage our retirement. Okay, so which is why I always say give priority to your retirement. Make sure that you are saving money for your retirement every month. Yeah. I'm sure all of you understand what is inflation. Inflation is nothing but increase in the price of goods and services. You've bought something for 100 rupees today. With 6% inflation, it'll be 106 next year. Inflation effectively brings down the value of my money, okay, which is what we need to understand. That inflation is bringing down the value of my money. My investments ideally take up the value of my money. So whenever I'm investing money, my investment returns have to be higher than the inflation number. So, for example, if you look at India's inflation currently, we are close to 6%, right? So, which means that my investments should be able to give me more than 6% for me to make some positive returns. So, if my investments are giving me 10%, my inflation is at 6%, effectively what I've made is only 4%, and that is what we need to understand. Okay. Now, uh, let's understand this risk reward matrix. Now, this is important because for all of us who even understand about investing, like I was saying, right, women generally tend to take low risk. When you take low risk, your returns are also on the lower side, correct? So if you look at, there are two types of products. One is low risk products, which have obviously which give low returns, and then you have high risk products which have the potential to give higher returns, right? So you have low risk products, high risk products. Now, one thing that we need to understand is that when it comes to the low risk products, they don't give us great returns, so we are not beating inflation effectively. We are probably getting negative returns, and we're going to talk about it. High risk products have high risk, so they could be products like equities, shares, mutual funds, all of that. Yeah. One category that I want all of us to be very careful about, and especially the women, because they tend to invest in such products, which is low risk, high return products. So if someone is coming to you and promising you XYZ return, so someone is coming to you and saying, I'll give you 14% assured returns, 15% assured returns, that is going against the law of nature. Law of nature says risk is low, you will get low returns. Risk is high, you will get high returns, period. If someone is telling you risk is low, but I'm going to give you very good returns, that is something you need to be extremely careful about. So your chit funds and a lot of Ponzi schemes which run in the market, everyone with an intention to cheat the investor is something that you need to be careful about. So many people have lost so much money just because of not understanding that if they're promising you high returns which are assured, that is not regulated. Okay, so low risk, high return products are those products which are not regulated, right? And if they're not regulated, which means if you get cheated, you can't even catch hold of those people. If they run away, your money is gone. So which is why always go with the laws of nature. Low risk, low return. You don't want to take risk, then compromise on your returns, invest in such products, your FDs, PPFs, all of that. You're willing to take the risk if you want high returns, then invest in such products. But that's about it. Don't look at any other category. Okay. Now, obviously, when we are investing money, we're looking at certain aspects. One is safety, right? So we obviously want our money, our principal to be safe. So safety is one thing we look at. Liquidity, which means how easily I'm able to take out my money. Now that's also important, correct? Because when we are looking at our investments, I should be able to access that money anytime that I want. So if 2 days later I need the money, I should be able to take it out immediately. So liquidity is very important. Returns, obviously, returns are important. Convenience. Trust me, more than anything else, our life has to be convenient because today, if there's one thing that we don't have, that is time, right? And if we don't have the time, convenience is what comes to our rescue. So, for example, you want to order groceries today, 15 minutes, Blinkit is at your doorstep. You want a cab, 2 minutes, Ola Uber comes to your doorstep. Investments, the same thing has to happen. If you have to walk up to a bank every day, every month to make your investments, you'll do it for 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, and then you will stop doing it. So make your investments convenient, which means maybe use any app which is available from an investment point of view. Where 1 or 2 minutes you're done with your investments. Make your investments online, right? Convenience is something that is going to make our investments more sustainable, be more long lasting, more long term. Okay. Now let's look at the product. So we've discussed so much about investing. We've spoken about goals and inflation. We've spoken about why as women we need to invest in, so many other things that we've discussed. Now we'll get to the crux of the whole session, which is the products where I can invest my money. So Okay, again with a show of hands, a yes or a no on the chat, I want you to tell me how many of you believe that investing is a confusing process. Give me a yes or a no and tell me that investing is confusing, yes, or not confusing, no. Okay, so we're getting some yeses, we're getting some no's. Okay, very good. Okay. Anyone else? Any other answers? Okay. So most of you are saying yes, it is confusing, and some of you are saying no. Okay. So let's understand this, right? If I believe that I want to invest my money, I'm convinced about it. I'm convinced that I need to at least know. So even if you are not investing actively, even if you have, your partners investing money on your behalf, you still need to know about those basic products, right? So today we're going to talk about those basic concepts. We'll start with the first one, which is all the investment products can be split into 4 asset classes. Okay. To start with, the first one is your fixed income group or any product which gives me fixed return. Can anyone give me example of a product which is fixed in terms of returns? Can you give me the names of such products? Anyone? Where you exactly know how much you will get at the time of maturity. Yes, FD, absolutely. What else? FD is one of those most famous fixed income products. What else? A PPF, yes, very good. Veena says SIP. So Veena, SIP is basically investing in mutual funds, and mutual funds are not fixed. Government certificates, yes, absolutely. Government bonds, government certificates, national saving certificates, very good. Pushkala says gold certificates. So Pushkala, gold, if you're investing in gold through whichever format, the gold rate will keep changing. So if the gold rate is changing, your returns cannot be fixed. Okay. So basically, if you look at the fixed income products, they could be like your fixed deposits, your NSCs, public provident fund, government bonds, corporate bonds, all these come under the fixed income category. If I look at FD, most common, most of us know about it. Quickly tell me, what is the FD interest rate I'm earning right now? So if I was to go to a bank and take a fixed deposit, how much interest would I earn? Can anyone tell me? Okay, approximately 7%, 7, 6 to 7, 7. Okay, 7%. So most of you are saying 7%. Okay. So if we look at FD today, we are getting close to 6.5 to 7% in a fixed deposit, which is true. During COVID, it was very less. It was about 5.5%. But now we're getting anywhere between 6.5 to 7% in a fixed deposit. Is this interest taxable? Can anyone tell me? So this interest that I'm earning in the fixed deposit, is it taxable? It is taxable. It is very much taxable to the extent of the income tax slab that we fall in. Okay. So it is taxable. So let's assume after tax, my FD is giving me about 6% return. My inflation is also at 6% today. So logically, is my money growing or not growing in a fixed deposit? What do you think? So if my FD is also giving me 6%, if my inflation is also at 6%, effectively there's no loss, no gain, right? So my money is effectively not growing. So which means the whole process of investing is useless if your money is not growing in terms of value, correct? So then the question is FD a bad product? Then should I not invest in it? Because if my money is not growing, what's the point, right? Well, trust me, every product has a good side. Every product has a bad side. So quickly tell me, what's a good side about fixed deposit? What do we like about FDs? Give me the answer. What do we like about FDs? Anyone? Anyone tell me? Assurance of returns, which is basically nothing but safety and security, right? Which means your principal amount is safe. Absolutely, right? So all of us like fixed deposits because of the safety that comes with it. And that's one of the main reasons why we invest in fixed deposits, correct? So that's why I'm saying it is okay to invest in a fixed deposit, but since it is not beating inflation in the long run, you should invest in a fixed deposit only the amount that you need in the short term. So when I say short term, it's basically maximum of 3 years, which is your time horizon for a fixed deposit. So I want all of you to understand these basic things, that when you're investing in a particular product, what would be the time horizon you look at for that particular product? Every product will have a different timeline for investments because they're all for different purposes. Your fixed deposits are for your short-term investments because in the short term, you don't take risk with your money. But in the long term, if you invest in your FD for long term, your money will only devalue because of inflation, right? So short term is 3 years. So for example, you want to buy a car for yourself in the next 2 years, you're saving money for the down payment, put that money in a fixed deposit, don't take risk on it. But if you're saving money, say for your retirement, which will come after 20 years, then FD is a bad option. Okay. Now, FDs are for short term, and then we look at our emergency fund. So we spoke about the emergency fund, which is 6 times of your expenses, monthly expenses. So that amount also you can put in a fixed deposit. You don't put that emergency fund in a risky investment because you would need that money anytime. So if you don't know when you need the money, then you put in a fixed deposit because you don't have a timeline which is assigned to it. So short-term goals, any goals you want to achieve in the next 3 years, and your emergency fund will go in fixed deposit. Now, the second investment basket is equity. It could be shares, mutual funds, all of that. So with a show of hands again, yes or a no, tell me how many of you understand what is equity. Tell me how many of you understand what is equity. Give me a yes or a no on the chat. Okay. Okay. So I'm getting no, no. How about the others? There's a yes. Okay. Many no's, then a yes. Any other answers? Anyone else? Okay, so let me quickly explain what is equity, right? So say I'm running my own business. Now I want to grow my business. To grow my business, I need money. Now I can get money in two forms. So one, I can just take a simple loan. All of us know about a loan. We take a loan from the bank. And then if I've taken that loan from the bank to expand my business, I need to give back that money to the bank along with the interest which the bank is charging. Simple, right? So that's a very simple transaction. The second way of raising money for my business is through equity. So, which means what I do is I create shares of my company, I roll it out in the market, and then people like you and me can invest in that company. So, which means I'm giving money to that business, and then the business is going to utilize that money to grow. Correct? If the business grows, the business does well, my money will also grow. If the business doesn't do well, my money will also go down in value, which means if I'm investing in equity, I'm effectively investing in a business. Okay. And the profit or the loss will be shared with me. Yeah. So, which means I'm a part owner of a company if I've invested in that company's shares. And to the extent of the number of shares that I have bought, I will get access to those shares. Okay. So now equity, when it comes to equity, it is considered to be risky, right? Because all of us understand that when it comes to equity, there is risk associated. I mean, if I'm investing in a business, how would I know if the business is going to do well or not? Correct? So let's understand if I want to invest in equity, because today, in today's world, equity is one of those investments which we cannot ignore because equities have the potential to give us good returns. So if I want to invest in equity, but I want to reduce my risk, how do I go about doing it? There are three ways. Rule number one, if you want to invest in equity, you have to invest only for the long term. Your equity investments are only for the long term. They're not for the short term. And when I say long term, it is a minimum of 5 years. Like how we said for fixed deposit, your timeline is a maximum of 3 years. For equity, it's a minimum of 5 years that you look at investing in equity. The longer, the better. If you can invest for 10, 15, 20 years, great, but minimum 5 years. Now, what's the logic of 5 years? The logic of 5 years is that as time increases, we have something called as a law of averaging, which reduces our risk and balances out our returns. So, how does that work? For example, you have just started your own business. In the first year, your risk is going to be very high. You don't know if you'll even survive the next year. But if you've run the same business for 5 years, you've done something right for 5 years, which is why you're there. So, which means your risk reduces. 10 years, your risk goes down further. So, basically, as time is increasing, your risk is going down. That obviously doesn't mean you made profit in every year. You have made profits in some years, losses in some years. And in the years where you made profit, you have probably saved more money for the business. In the years when you made losses, the money that you had saved is what you would have utilized to manage your business, right? So on an average, you would have made your returns in your 9-10 years of journey. That's exactly how it works with equity as well. In the share market also, your stocks are going to go up, they're going to go down. But if you stay invested for 10-15 years, the whole risk averages out. That's rule number one. Rule number two, if you want to invest in direct stock, we can invest in shares. But when you're investing in shares, all of us know about the stock market, National Stock Exchange, Bombay Stock Exchange, then there's Sensex and Nifty, which are equity market indicators. Now, when it comes to the share market or when it comes to investing in shares, the risk is very high because you have to do a lot of research yourself, right? You have to understand where the equity market is going, how it's going to do. If I want to invest in a company, how the company is doing, who are the members of the company, the founders, the promoters, what are the financials? There's so much that you have to do, which is a confusing world, right? So, which is why to reduce that risk, you could look at investing through mutual funds as well. So, just quickly, again, with a yes or a no, tell me how many of you understand what are mutual funds? Just give me a yes or a no and tell me how many of you understand what are mutual funds? Okay, I've got a one yes. How about the others? Can I get some more answers? Okay, Prasad also says yes. Anyone else? Okay. Ina says yes. Okay. So when it comes to mutual funds, I'm going to quickly explain what are mutual funds. So please understand mutual funds are a way of investing your money, and you can invest in any asset class through mutual funds, which means if you're investing in shares through mutual funds, we call them equity funds. If you're investing in gold through mutual funds, we call them gold funds. If you're investing in real estate through mutual funds, we have real estate funds which are available. So you can invest in any asset class through mutual funds. Okay, so now let's understand how do they work. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly switch the presentation. Just give me a moment. Yeah. So what exactly are mutual funds, right? So this is what I was telling you about time aspect, right? If you have stayed invested in equities for long term, what happens? So if you just look at this is Nifty 50 return, yeah. In 2006, Nifty gave 40% return. 2007, 55%. 2008, minus 52%. So as you can see in this 15-year time span, there are a lot of ups and downs. Of course, had you invested for a very short period, your risk would have been very high. But if you look at the investment returns from 2006 till 2021, which is 15 years, the CAGR is close to 12%, right? Which is exactly how it's working in equity. So, which is why I want you to understand that time plays a very, very important role in equity. You stay invested in equity for the long term, you will make your wealth, you will make your, you'll be able to create that wealth for yourself. But if short term, the risk is much higher. So, remember, we're talking about wealth creation opportunities. Wealth creation opportunities, equity is one of those ways of creating wealth in equity if you truly stay invested for long term. Okay, so when we talk about mutual funds, so let me tell you basic how mutual funds work, and I'll explain it to you using equity as an example. So you're investing your money in a fund which has at least 30 to 40 or 40 to 50 company stocks, which means even if you're investing 10,000 rupees in a mutual fund, that 10,000 rupees is going to spread across 40, 50 companies. So your risk is much lower. All the 50 companies would not do bad at the same time. Some may do well, some may do bad. So on an average, you'll make your money. We have someone called as a fund manager who's managing that fund for you. So fund manager decides which company stocks will be part of the portfolio, right? If a particular company is not doing well, that company is out and a better one comes in. So let me explain this to an example, right? So if I take cricket as an example, so cricket in a cricket team, there are 11 players. It's possible that in a particular day, on a particular match, 5, 6 players are doing very well. 2, 3 are just about average, and remaining 2, 3 are playing very bad. But still, the team has a chance of winning because you still have at least 6, 7 players who are doing well. So that's exactly how mutual funds are working. You have 50 companies. All the 50 may not be doing well. So maybe 30 are doing well, 10 are doing average, 10 are doing very bad. But still, on an average, you will make your money. So that is called the law of averaging, which is exactly how mutual funds are working. The captain of the cricket team is like your fund manager because the captain is deciding who's playing, who's not playing. Someone who's not playing well is out and a better one comes in. That is what the fund manager decides for the individual stocks. A particular company is not doing well, that company is out and a better one comes in. So think of mutual funds as a lesser risky way of investing in equity and still making decent returns. Okay. So let me just show you an example also to explain this to you. This is an example of an actual journey of a mutual fund. So this fund was launched in India in Jan 1995. Now I'm going to ask you certain questions related to it, and I want you guys to give me the answer. Okay. I want you to take a guess. Let's assume, so this is very interesting. Hear me out for the next 5 minutes and then we are done with the session. Okay. Let's assume all of us invested in this mutual fund in Jan 1995, we invested 10 lakh rupees. Just a simple 10 lakh rupees, nothing else. Okay. Whenever a new fund is launched in the market, the price of each unit is 10 rupees, which means I like how we have shares, we have share price. In mutual funds, we have unit price, which is 10 rupees for an NFO. Now, in Jan 97, this 10 rupees became 5.63, which means the 10 lakhs that you had invested has now become, say, 5.5 lakhs. So I want you guys to tell me, what would you do? What would your reaction be if it was your 10 lakhs invested in 95 and in 2 years has become 5.5 lakhs? Option number one, would you take out your money at this stage? Option number two, you do nothing, you just stay invested. Option number three, you invest more money into this fund. So give me 1, 2, or 3 and tell me how would you react to it. Okay, so Rajashri says 2, which means you'll stay invested or invest more. Okay, do nothing. All right. Okay, how about the others? Give me some more answers. What would you do if it was your money that you had invested? So option 1, you take out your money at this stage. Option 2, you do nothing, just stay invested. Option 3, you increase your investment amount. We have Prasad is saying 3, then there's 2, most of you are saying 2. Okay. Okay. So let's see what would happen in Jan 2000. So ideally speaking, in 97, you should not have taken out your money because only 2 years are over. Ideally, you have to give your investments a minimum of 5 years, right? Now, in 5 years, the 10 rupees has become almost 25 rupees, which means the 10 lakhs that you had invested has now become close to 25 lakhs. Same question again. If it was your 10 lakhs, it has become 25 lakhs in 5 years of investments, which is 2.5 times. What would you do at this stage? Would you take out your money? Would you stay invested, do nothing, or would you add more money at this stage? And let's assume that you don't necessarily need money at this stage. Okay. Give me the answers, guys. Okay. Add more money is what Veena is saying. Okay. How about the others? Stay invested, Pushkala. Okay. Anyone else? Give me the answer. What would you do? 10 lakhs to 25 lakhs in 5 years. I'll show you how wealth creation happens. Just give me the answer to this. Okay, someone else is saying stay invested. Okay, great. Now I want you guys to take a guess and tell me in January of 2008, what do you think was the NAV of this fund? So here it is 25 in Jan 2000. In Jan 2008, I want you guys to tell me what do you think was the NAV of this fund? Anyone? Take a guess. So this number, the price of each unit, what was it for January of 2008? Can anyone tell me? Okay, less than what it was in Jan 2000. Okay. Anyone else? Just take a guess, take a random guess. Okay, Pushkala says 30. Obviously, you don't know the answer. I'm just saying, I'm just trying to understand what do you think? And do you think it went down? Do you think it went up? If it went down or went up, to what extent it went up or down? Okay, anyone else? Any other answers? Just take a guess, take a random guess. What was the NAV in January of 2008? It went up is what Veena is saying. Okay, so let me show you this. Okay, look at it carefully. In January of 2008, the NAV went up to 224, which means the 10 lakhs that you had invested has become 2.24 crores in Jan 2008, which is 13 years from the date of investment. Now, that is what equity can do for you, right? If you stay invested for the long term, look at the kind of wealth that you can create for yourself. But this was 2008. And all of us know that when it comes to 2008, recession had happened, right? And the money had actually gone down from here because recession happened in March 2008. So obviously equity markets went down. In December 2008, the NAV was 100. Okay, this is what I want you to understand. Then in December 2008, the NAV went down to 100. Okay, so now the question is, if the NAV went down to 100, which means the 10 lakhs that you had invested has become 1 crore. Still not bad. Still, if you just look at your investment amount versus how much you're getting at the peak of recession, is still 10 times of your 10 times of your investment amount. Correct? So, which is why equities, if you've given them enough time, they would grow to such an extent that even when market falls, it wouldn't, your fund will not fall to that extent. You'll still get decent returns. If you look at the returns of this fund in the year 2021, it was close to 22 November 2022, it was 1150, which is 11.5 crores in how many years? In close to 22, 23 years. The returns, I mean, the kind of value that this fund has created for you. So, which is why we always say this: you want to invest in equity, invest for long term. Give your investments enough time. Only then you'll be able to create that wealth for yourself. Okay. Now, the third way of reducing my risk in equity, and before that, let's quickly talk about SIPs as well. How many of you understand what is an SIP or what's the full form of SIP? Can anyone tell me? What is the full form of SIP? Okay, I'm going to launch it as a poll question on your screen. I want you to tell me what's the full form of SIP. So is it scientific investment plan? Is it systematic investment plan? Is it starting investment program, or is it single time investment plan? Okay, some more answers. What's the full form of SIP? Yeah, I think most of you have got it right. The full form of SIP is nothing but systematic investment plan, which is systematically investing into a mutual fund, right? So SIPs are a beautiful way of investing because they bring in the discipline aspect, right? We talk about discipline, which is the most important thing, and SIPs bring in that discipline aspect. So, which is why stay invested in an SIP, start your mutual fund journey with an SIP. So, SIP is nothing but investing a fixed amount on a fixed date every month in a particular mutual fund that you have selected. So you say, I want to invest 10,000 rupees on the 10th of every month in XYZ fund. So that becomes an SIP for you, which means on the 10th of every month, 10,000 rupees will go out of your account and will get invested in the mutual fund that you have selected. So SIPs are a wonderful way of investing your money. They bring in a lot of discipline to your investments. Now, the third way of reducing my risk in equity, which is also another way of investing or another product, is gold. How many of you like gold as an investment? Just 2 more minutes, I'm done with the session. Quickly tell me, how many of you like gold as an investment? Give me a yes or a no. Give me a yes or a no. Okay. So I'm getting a lot of yeses, very few no's. Okay. So gold in general is a good form of investment. Gold reduces my risk in equity because gold and equities are negatively correlated, which means if your share market is going up, it means your gold rate is coming down. And if your gold rate is going up, it means your share market is coming down. So they balance out each other, which means at any point in time, at least one of them will be positive. So it is okay to invest in gold, but only in the non-emotional formats, because when you're investing in the form of jewelry, the problem is that there's a lot of emotional attachment with jewelry, right? So always invest in the forms of gold which are proper financial investments, which will actually give you, or you'll be able to utilize the return. So it could be gold coins, gold biscuits, gold mutual funds, gold ETFs, gold bonds, digital gold, all of that, right? Anything where there's no emotional attachment, where you're not physically seeing it. So invest in the online format. You'll actually have a very balanced portfolio by doing that. Okay, so gold is a good form of investment. Maybe 10 to 15% of your investments can go into gold. Now I'm just going to quickly talk about the last thing before we end the session, and I'm stopping the screen sharing as well. The last thing that I want to talk about is the value of documentation. For all of us, all the women out there who have no clue about their investments, the one thing, even if you don't want to actively participate in this process of investing, everything that we spoke about, one thing that you need to know is where your money is getting invested. So even if you don't actively invest money, you should know where your money is getting invested, and that is possible through the value of documentation. Now, what is documentation? So basically what you have to do is you need to have access to all the information. So in the olden days, our parents used to have a file. I don't know if you remember this, right? So a file which has all their financial documents, correct? So all the investments, all the loans, everything would go in one file. And that file is kept somewhere, in a locker or something. And it's been told to the family members that if something happens to me, this is the file you need to access. It will give you all the information that you need to know when it comes to money. That is something that we need to know in today's world as well. Because the problem is today, everything is online, right? Today, we have our bank accounts online, we make our investments online, everything is online, and we're obviously not sharing our passwords with our respective spouses, right? So then the problem is, if suppose your spouse is taking care of your investments, and God forbid, if something was to happen to him or to her, then what is it that you're going to do? How are you going to figure out where the investments are? So it's very important that we have access to the information. So it could be in the form of a physical file, it could just be an online folder that you guys have created with access to both of you, where you make a list of all your investments, right? So all your investments, these are the mutual funds, this is the gold, this is my FDs, these are properties, loans, everything. It's just that create that one Excel file with all the information in that Excel file and share it with your partner, right? Access to information is the most important thing. Remember, we saw 60,000 crores lying unclaimed with EPFO, 150,000 crores lying unclaimed with banks, insurance companies. That's because information is not shared with people. And my point is, you're working so hard, you're doing so much, saving money for your financial goals. And if you don't even have access to that information and you're not able to utilize that money for which you struggled so hard all your life, what's the point, right? So make sure that you have access to information. You could have a physical file, you could have a digital file, either ways, but it has to be shared. That information has to be shared between partners. Yeah. So with that, I would like to end my session.